love waking up next to you. I could do this every morning.
You make me so happy. I could spend all my time with you.
Make me feel so manly, so powerful.
I just want all of you right now.
I wouldn't need anything else.
You just totally get me.
I'd be nothing without you.
I'd be nothing without you.
If your money talked, what secrets would it tell?
So everybody listening, if you're listening to us on the YouTube, like, subscribe, share, please, please, please. We're trying to get this out. And thank you for listening. We have a returning guest, third time on here. We bring him back from Canton, Ohio, the Football Hall of Fame neck of the woods, Cleveland Browns neck of the woods. I don't know if we should say that with enthusiasm or not, but we'll play it out. From over in Canton, Ohio, Gary Sirak, president of Sirak Financial Services. He's been doing this for a very, very long time, and in a country, in a world that is topsy-turvy, head over heels, all kinds of crazy words that you can make up. We need somebody to send us. I guess I'll frame it this way: tame us, because there's so much crazy stuff on the airwaves. So we have Gary here. If you want to find more about him, again, Gary Sirak, it's SIRAK.com. Check him out there. If you're in Canton, Ohio, the Ohio area, check him out too. Gary, it's always a pleasure having you on, and thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure also. It's always fun. And it's always interesting, which makes it fun. So that's cool.
So, we could go rattle on, and I did a brief introduction on this, so we're not going to go too deep into this. But the state of our economy is in shambles. Anybody that doesn't agree with that is probably, in some kind of different planet than we're all living in. We saw 3 banks go under in the past 2 months. That's very scary. We'll touch on that in just a moment. But, with the people that you're talking to in the financial aspect of this, what do you feel like is your assessment of the state of our economy right now in May of 2023?
The word chaos comes to mind. It's crazy what's going on. The fact that they've raised interest rates so fast has always troubled me. I read a long time ago that you need to give an interest rate raise some time. And that doesn't mean like a week or a month. It means give it some time to really, and that never happened. They just fired so many rates at us so fast that I thought, wow, this is going to take some time to digest. And what will this look like when they're done digesting it? That always troubles me. I think people who move real fast and don't take time to understand what they're doing or know what they're doing, and it's on purpose. And that's another thing. I don't know. I mean, I have no inside information. I barely have outside information because you just don't really know what's going on. But I thought that was disturbing. I know that we're in a recession. I know everybody says, oh, we're not this, we're not that. I said, yeah, we're in a recession. But here's the weird thing about this. Friday night, we go to dinner and the restaurant is packed. Saturday night, we were at a party, a fundraiser, packed. So there's money out there. And people are doing things, yet we're in a recession. It's really an odd place we are. Real estate, I can't believe what's going on there. To me, they're raising the mortgage rates, and yet a couple of homes friends of mine put on the market sold within like a week. Now, they're not going overpriced like they were. They're just kind of getting what they want. So that real estate market is pretty much interesting to watch and observe. I don't know where that's going. It's just the most unique times I've ever been in.
When we talk about real estate and the restaurants, where you said you're seeing a lot of people in these restaurants, are we thinking that these are people that saved this money through COVID? Because I keep hearing, Gary, and I'm sure the people that you are speaking with in this financial realm that you work in are saying the same thing. Credit card debt is out of control. Student loan debt is obviously still there. Where are they getting this money? No one's working. The workforce is extremely low right now. People are just sitting on their behinds and just getting government assistance. I can't comprehend, like you said, where this money is coming from.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever. You're preaching to the choir here, because I've been saying the same thing. how are they funding these things? How are they
Right.
spending so much money? The only thing I can imagine is credit card debt is going off the charts again. And that'll mean a lot of all the stuff that happens, bankruptcies and foreclosures and all that junk. And it's going to be ugly, and I can't see because they're not working. And I probably have, well, I've been doing this a long time, so I have a lot of clients. I'll bet I have half a dozen clients right now that are really looking desperately for people and can't find them. And they're good paying jobs. One guy's paying 85 grand a year, another guy's paying 70. I was with an architect yesterday, and he said, we need to hire 4 architects. I can't find one. He said, it's just been awful. I don't understand what people are doing or how they're earning a living or how they're paying their bills.
We also have to touch on this in the colleges. They have not trained. We talk about the jobs. I think these are the jobs of the past, the present, and the future. The plumbers, the electricians, the AC guys, heating guys. These are the jobs that you go up north, you go to the Midwest, you go out west, you go down south. These guys can make some pretty damn good money and still not have a college education, go to those trade schools. That's not being pushed because the elite in this country was trying to push everybody to get the master's degrees, the PhDs. Yeah. And now we have all these people with master's degrees and PhDs, and there's nothing to do with these people because they're not trained to go into these jobs. Like you said, architect, heating, cooling, all these jobs that we need in this country, infrastructure, construction. We don't have these people to do these jobs anymore. So this country is in deep doo-doo.
I'll give you a great example. A friend of mine, we went to school together, high school. So that was a long time ago. He was a bricklayer and he laid brick. He retired a number of years ago. I have his money. He's living on what he was making when he was laying brick, which was a very good living in his retirement. It's impressive. He earned a lot of money. He was a saver. And he made, some years 6 figures laying brick, which, I said, wait, you don't understand. Laying brick is, it's not like just popping these things on top. There's an art and a science to this. Well, he laid some of the most famous brick around Ohio for sure. Skill sets. I mean, plumbers and electricians, trying to find somebody that can fix something is almost impossible. And we aren't training them. And
you're gonna pay, Gary. If you need those people, you're gonna pay big money because, like you said, they're not around.
Yeah, and I can't fix anything. I mean, I am clueless. My idea of fixing something is to unplug it and hope the hell when I plug it in, it works. That's my skill set. But yeah, it's crazy. So it's funny. I have in my book, How to Retire and Not Die, Rob, I had this wish list in there. Well, there's a bunch of people that don't really want to retire. So this is kind of interesting. My neighbor across the street ran a manufacturing company. What does he do now? He fixes appliances for people. He just wants something to do. This guy built stuff for millions and millions and millions. I don't know how much money he has, but a lot. And he's fixing lawnmowers and whatever, snow blowers for people. Something breaks, they bring it over and Bob fixes it. He's having a great time. I think he charges them for chewing gum or something. He doesn't, he just does it for something to do. And so you look at, and I said to Bob, I said, how do you get these things? Who does this if you don't do it? He said, Gary, we don't have people fixing things anymore. He said, I need to train people how to fix things. And he said, that's the big problem. And we're going to get slammed head first into that one.
I want to go into this. This is right down your neck of the woods. We just spoke a little bit about people that are in deep doo-doo with student debt, with credit card debt, car loans are out of control right now. Going to see a lot of repossessions, yes. Not just cars. We're going to see the foreclosures on the houses, as you stated earlier. What would you tell people? This is kind of very generalized because, obviously everybody has different debts as far as that goes. And some people hopefully don't have any debt. There are those people out there. Thank God for that. But regardless of that, what would you tell those people in a generalized statement if they have all these different debts, but especially probably the credit card is probably the biggest, I would say, along with the student loans?
Yeah, credit card's really painful. The student loan isn't, well, mostly they aren't as bad as the credit card world. So I have a couple clients of mine that I just did this with in the last year, and they had 4 credit cards. And I said, okay, we're going to get rid of 3. You can keep 1. I said, not only that, we're going to turn it into a debit card, not a credit card. And they said, well, why? And I said, because I don't want you putting more money on something that you're having trouble paying back. I said, the three we're cutting up, which we literally cut them up in the office. And I said, I want you to pay whatever money you were paying on those credit cards. I said, we're not going to add anything to the budget. If you don't have cash or you don't have it on your debit card, you don't buy it. I said, and we'll start chipping away at this. And so we started chipping away. We got rid of the lowest one, just fell off the chart. And we paid a third, whatever they were going to pay. And I can't remember what the amount was, but it worked out that it took over, I think, 13, 14 months to pay the lowest one off. It's gone. And I said, okay, take the money you're paying on that one and shove it on the other two. And we'll just keep doing this. I think in 25, they'll be done. And then they'll have zero debt. And they have stuck to that debit card. They have stuck to paying cash. They actually started funding their 401k again. All of a sudden, they're making progress. And so I thought that was pretty good. I have another guy that he and I had a real interesting discussion. He had 10 credit cards. And he had 10,000 on 10 cards. He owed 100 grand and he was paying close to 18% interest on 18,000 a year, getting nothing off. And we're sitting in there talking, and I said, the only way you're going to solve this problem is you need to, first of all, quit getting credit cards. I said, number two, don't buy anything if you can't pay cash.
Yeah.
He said, well, I've never paid cash. I said, yeah, I can tell. And that's why you have this mess in your hands. You have $100,000 worth of credit card bills. So literally, I give him a ton of credit. He did that. And he said, Gary, I'm going to try this. I don't think I'm going to like it, but I'm going to try it. I said, well, you do whatever you want. It's not my life, but let me know how it works. So he stopped credit and he started just paying cash. And he is down, I want to say he was down to 7, which is pretty good from 10. He got rid of 3. And he said, I'm just chipping away. And he said, I'm not doing crazy things. He said, all of a sudden I have money I didn't know I had.
But Gary, why are people doing this? Why do they get all these credit cards? Is it they want those perks on the credit cards? And then the people that get all these credit cards, they don't want to pay off the first credit card. They just keep pushing the limit. I don't know. Maybe I'm very conservative and cheap in my way of thinking, but I can't comprehend this. People don't pay off their credit cards and then they move to the next one. Go ahead.
It doesn't make sense. I've never understood it either. If you can figure that out, let me know, because I have not been able to understand that. I will say that people are not good at delaying gratification. And so one way to have instant gratification is to go buy something and then you get it and then you have to pay for it later. That's not a good trade, by the way, I think. And I believe a lot of what's happened is because of that. We just want it now and we're not willing to wait, and we'll handle it later. We'll pay it later. Sounds like our government in some way, doesn't it?
Yeah, our government's got a lot of beauties in it. Again, for people listening, Gary Sirak here on Fire Breathing Rob. He's got a couple of books out. I definitely recommend, if you want the books, Gary, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's GarySirak.com. You can get the books there, The American Dream Revisited, and the retirement book also. Is that correct?
Yes. And my one, if your money talked, what secrets would it tell? So that's
Right.
the third one. And that's kind of like a money book for people who never really had anyone teach them about money. And that's why I wrote that one.
And I actually did read that book. It's a short read, and it was very good. Some of the stuff, is kind of regurgitated that I already knew, but some of the stuff was very, good stories. I think for somebody that's a youngster, a high school, college, read these books, listen to Gary. It's very important. I do want to move into this, Gary, and go to the next subject here. We talk about investing right now. We're looking at a stock market that is very turbulent right now. It's went from the rocket ship of, I would say, maybe the 2012, 13, all the way up to 2020. Then it went down and then it went up again. And now it seems like it's very much flattening out. Would you recommend people that are coming to see you as far as investing in the stock market, real estate? Where should they be putting their money right now? I hear a lot about gold and silver and those precious metals. What are you thinking right now? What are you telling your people?
I'm a big fan of diversification. I really like spreading out my eggs and my assets.
Okay.
So I think having some real estate's fine. I don't think I don't think you hit the lotto when you buy real estate. There's a lot of things that go with real estate that aren't perfect,
Right.
like taxes and maintenance and all those kind of things and insurances. So it's fine. The market is, I don't know how you even could get your arms around the market today because I feel like it is very flat. I don't think it's going to do anything. I will be stunned. I don't think anything will happen in the market until interest rates start to go the other way. And I have no idea when that's going to be. But to me, that would be an indicator and say, okay, maybe the market can come back and get active. So I think that's very flat. The idea of there is one thing that is really interesting going on, though, that I like, and I think it's being ignored. And that CDs today are as high as I've seen them. I bought one yesterday. It was 4.85 for 13 months. Now, the problem is the 14 months, it's going to be a lot lower. It's going to be a fraction of that. But for 13 months, you can get a really good return. Here's what I really find interesting, though, on the market is now there's a product out that hasn't been around for a long time because it wasn't worth selling. It's a form of an annuity that pays a guaranteed 5%. I like that, but it pays it for 9 years. And I can't ever remember having a CD go out 9 years for 5%. I always thought that was a pretty good return. Now, the guarantee is, it's a guarantee that I like the guarantee. I feel good about it. And the reason it's at 5% is because interest rates are up. So we can grab something that we can't get and hold on to it for 9 years in this case. And I really think interest rates are going to have to trend back down because that's the only way they're going to get to restart the economy, in my opinion.
Just to tap on that even more, we talked about CDs, and I'm seeing that too, 4%, 5%. As far as that goes, I think that would say that's probably the highest is maybe 5. Regardless of that, though, Gary, my worry is we just saw our third bank collapse in 2 months. So should people be a little bit worried about putting a lot of money in CDs in the bank because we're seeing this? It seems like it's a trend, Gary, and it does make me a little nervous. We just saw JP Morgan buy First Republic. With that said, JP Morgan is almost bringing back Too Big to Fail. It almost seems like a repeat of 2007, 2008 again.
It is. And I feel like it is also. And it does remind me of that many times. The banking industry, I mean, FDIC said we'll cover 250,000
Right.
and all that. But the fine print says they can pay you that over 99 years. So there's a really interesting, yeah, it's guaranteed, but also not guaranteed to get your money today. Now, they didn't do that, of course. They needed to fix Silicon Valley. So they did, and they basically took the new bank and sold it to JP Morgan, as far as I'm concerned. That was a done deal before they announced it. So they're kind of cooking the books in the way that they're making sure things are okay and that we don't go crazy. And I think that's good because you don't need runs on the bank. That's not positive. My sense is that if you have a lot more than 250 in a bank, you should definitely not have it in that bank. You should have it moved around. And I have clients. I have one guy that's got 10 different banks. I said, just keep good record. Now, he's also very wealthy. I have another person that doesn't trust the bank at all, literally took all her money out of the bank and said, I just don't trust them anymore. And she moved 50 grand in cash into her house in the safe. And she said, I don't care if I make money. I just don't trust these people. And I said, well, I'm not sure who those people are, but whatever you want to do, it's your money. I think we're seeing lots of variations on that theme.
I don't know who these people are either. And I agree with you with that, but I don't really trust the government and what's going on with these big banks either, because we saw what happened in 2008. A lot of people that lost their behinds. And with that said, I agree with you. I think it's going to happen again. And I'm extremely worried about that. Just to dive a little deeper in this, for people that have those Roth IRAs, people in my age group, in their early 30s, maybe in their 20s, I'm hoping that people are starting to invest in their teens if they have some brains and some good parental support around them. But for instance, if they're investing in their 20s and their 30s and they have that Roth IRA from whatever company it may be, if we do have this sort of recession or this really turbulent time, look, like you said, it looks like it's definitely going to happen. Are these pretty safe because they're not going to be touched for about 50-ish, 40-ish years?
Yeah, I feel real good about those. I really am a strong proponent of the Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks. Unfortunately, I was a late bloomer. I wasn't always on that bandwagon. And lately, I've really been on that bandwagon because I've looked at what's going to happen. What I think will happen with taxes is there's no way they're going down. We can't spend the money we're spending and not collect tax dollars. So that's going to happen. And they're going to raise our rates. I just don't know how they're going to do it and what form they're going to raise it, but that's the way this is going to go down for sure. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to pound us because that would mean they wouldn't get reelected. And God knows that's not going to happen. So they're going to do it very subtly, very slowly, but they're definitely going to come for us because that's what they do. They just do it in interesting ways. My thought is, I like the Roth IRA a lot. I think you have time. I love the fact that it grows tax-free. I just can't think of anything that isn't a positive there. You don't get to deduct it, but you're deducting it in today's interest rates and today's tax rates. Who knows what they're going to be with 30 years from now, what their money's going to be. I mean, there's so many unknowns. I just know that it's hard for me to see taxes going down long-term. I just don't see how that's even possible.
So you're telling people that are in the 20 to 30 age range or even younger, we hope, that are starting to get into the investment game, Roth IRAs, 401ks, what else should they be looking into? Should they be looking into stocks? I know you said you're a guy that, is into, variations of different things, but it seems like, as you stated, the stock market's pretty flat, and that could be a, pretty losing battle if you put money in there.
I think if you're investing in mutual funds, I have a hard time picking out stocks, never been my game. But if you're investing in mutual funds, you just have to know that you're going in and buying at a low price, which I think we are right now. But that also means you may have to sit and wait a while. The last time I did this, I looked at some opportunities in some funds and some families I really trusted and liked and have had good success with. And I bought them because they were pretty much on sale. And I made up my mind that I was just going to hold on to these guys for a while. And quite frankly, that was a good decision on my part. So I don't think I would change my mind on that. Rob, I think that's still a really good strategy. I mean, if you can buy low and sell high, I'm a fan. It's just hard to do. Well, now we have an opportunity, but people are so afraid of it, they're not willing to buy because, oh my gosh, it's already down. It's going to get on more. If it goes down a little bit more, so what? I mean, the reality is, if you don't need the money today, you're getting a bargain.
We talked about this in our last conversation. I said social insecurity. You told me a story about one of your friends that worked high in the Social Security Administration, that you don't believe that's true, that the money is there and that this is just a political ploy, back and forth between the Democrats and the Republicans. Are you still with that? Because we keep hearing that by Congress. The Republicans want to cut some programs. Biden doesn't want to do this. He wants to put money here. And like you said, there's dollar bills floating around everywhere in the air. And we keep printing money. And it's just a country in turmoil and going down the tube. But just to get back to the question, what do you think about this Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? Because it seems like with at least, less people working, people that got sick with diseases, COVID, other injuries from COVID, they're not working. People don't want to work. There's tons of people on Medicaid, tons of people on Medicare now because of the population, tons of people on Social Security because of the population. So,
we did lose a lot during pandemic, though. We did lose a bunch of those older generation on the pandemic. So that helped Social Security, although they don't talk about that. But if you do the math and you look and say, whoa, a bunch of people dropped out in that pay rate. And the same with the Medicare Part A and Part B. They really did. There was a hit and a positive on the balance sheet, although the negative, obviously, the other side of it, but financially. So here's my answer. The government has just proven to us that they're not going to let anything go under. Our banks aren't going under. Other things aren't going under. It's hard for me to see Social Security getting chopped much because those people vote. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they just can't afford to lose the votes. And as long as votes are on the table, they'll figure out a way to print more money. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but my question is, and I know you're not pushing the printing more money aspect of this because I know what kind of guy you are. But if you keep printing more money, the inflation level is just going to keep getting more out of control. I mean, where does this stop?
I watched 4 presidents say it's okay to print more money. And I thought, you know what? I don't agree with any of you. I think it's a terrible idea. Why don't you stop spending money in places that are ridiculous to spend it on? My opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
And the long and the short of it is that's not what happens. They just print more money. So I don't know what really will come down. I just look at things and say, okay, a great example. I walked into my coffee shop on last Wednesday, and my coffee that normally costs me $4.70 was $2.39.
Oh,
And I said,
wow.
why? And she said, it's our 20th anniversary, and we're doing prices we charged in 20 years ago.
Well, I was going to say what happened. But
So that's what happened. She said, so for one day, every day this month on a Wednesday, we're going to give half price coffee. I wish I would have known that. I'd gone more often. But anyway, it was $2.39. And I did the math and I said, okay, so basically the same cup of coffee I paid $2.40 for is now $4.80. That's the reality. That's what we're going up. Everything is just flying so high, so fast. Groceries. My wife said yesterday she was in a grocery store and she filled up her gas tank. It was ridiculous. It was like almost $200.
Yeah.
And she said, how do people afford this, especially ones that aren't working? I said, Linda, I don't get it. I don't know how they're making this work. But it sure isn't going the other way, Rob.
I've heard from a couple people that deal in finance that I've interviewed from New York City, down on Wall Street. They're telling me that it might not just be a recession. It might be some sort of depression. I know that sounds very far-fetched to someone like me that's only in their early 30s because I don't even know what that feels like.
Yeah.
I know you don't even know what that feels like because you weren't even in that time frame.
No.
A lot of our people that are in the 80s and 90s may have a somewhat of a feeling of that, but there's not many of those people left. You know,
to answer your question, I just think that's over the top. I think that's way far over.
Fear mongering, you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's somewhere in the middle. It almost always is. Even when it's bad, it's usually not as bad as they say. When it's good, it's never as good. It always seems to trend somewhere in the middle, and that's where it'll be again. I just don't think that's a view that I have. I also don't think the economy, I listened to a guy that is, oh, the economy's fine. I'm saying, what planet are you on? The economy is not fine. I said, walk into any grocery store, look what's going on, look at the employees. I said, there's nothing right with this economy. But this guy's a famous guy. He's talking about things are good. And I'm thinking, okay, not in my mind. So you have your guy on your side, my guy on my side, and I don't believe any of it. I think it's just going to end up towards the middle, which is where it always ends. And I think that's good, by the way. I'm much happier when things trend towards the center.
Yeah, I agree with that too. In politics, in economic issues, in pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Middle of the road is very well played.
Yes.
Let's end on this. You know, just if you could tell the viewers as we end the interview a little bit, Gary, about your books. And again, GarySirak.com. Check out the books there, order them there. Tell us a little bit. We did talk about the money book a little bit. They're all about money, but your first book in general. But let's talk a little bit about the book so the viewers can hear about that. If they want to purchase the book, they know where to go to GarySirak.com.
Okay, so my last book's How to Retire and Not Die, the 3 Ps that will keep you young. And I wrote that about 1.5 years ago.
Right.
And I wrote it because people weren't figuring out what to do in retirement. They were retiring, but not to anything. They're retiring from something. And that's a really bad course to be on. And I witnessed it so many times over so many years, I just got frustrated, Rob, and said, I'm writing a book. And so my son and I wrote this book, and we really give guidelines. Well, the thing that's really fascinating to me is I have a much younger audience than I ever anticipated. I thought I was writing a book for 50-year-olds, and I'm finding 40-year-olds are reading my book. And they're getting stuff out of it, and I've had some really positive comments. I have this thing called a wish list in that book. And I have my clients and my people that work with me write down what they wish they were doing, except they had to work, so they couldn't. And I said, what a great list to have coming into retirement, where all of a sudden you don't have to be forced to go to work. You now have time. What's on that list that you'd like to do? So that wish list has become a really popular element of that book. And I was on an interview today with someone else, and that's what all he wanted to talk about was the wish list, because he had done his own wish list. And he said, oh, I did this and that. And I said, okay. So it became a personal interview for him. It was fun. And I got to hear all these kind of quirky things he wanted to do. And I said, well, that's pretty cool. So, but the wish list is big, and it can start when you're in the 30s, your 40s, just stuff, you know, I want to go to Europe. I want to travel Europe. I want to backpack, whatever it is. I have a guy right now off of his wish list. He's going to historic hotels. He and his wife are driving around and staying at historic hotels all throughout Ohio. Then they're going to PA. Then they're going all around the surrounding states. I said, how many years is this going to take you? He said, the rest of my life. I said, cool. I mean, it was on his wish list. I said, how did you get that on the wish list? He said, I don't know. We stayed in one, thought it was really great, and thought, what a great way to spend retirement. I think that's important. Figuring that out, Rob.
But do you think that as far as the wish list goes, Gary, people can have the fun and games part of it, but also look at the second part, which some people don't. It's all about fun and games. And maybe you have that kind of money just to blow it on all the fun and games, and you worked your life, you saved enough, you have that money in the bank. That's fine. But I believe it's a mixture of both fun and games and also that financial savvy. What can I invest in? How can I keep this going? Not just for myself, but maybe for my wife, for my kids, my grandkids, all that stuff too. You agree with that also, I assume?
Oh, 100%. And I'm a big believer of income. I like streams of income. And I built my own personal retirement, which I never retired. But if I did, I have streams of income coming in. And I did that with a goal. And I used life insurance. I used annuities. Social Security has been very good. They pay me every month. I like those guys. I've used interest from CDs. My mutual funds send off dividends. I mean, I have these buckets, and those buckets come in, and then I have enough money. And again, a lot of my wish list doesn't cost money. It's just going for hikes places and going to see this garden or doing something. I try and keep it reasonable. I also do some nonprofit charitable things, which I really like. I get probably as much pleasure out of that as anything. And those are things that don't cost me money. I volunteer time and just try and help out. So there's a lot you can do that don't cost money, but you got to have money, and you have to pay attention, and you need to start now. If you don't, you're going to regret it down the road, because you're going to have a whole bunch of people sitting around doing nothing, and a few people that were smart enough to do something, and they're going to have a great time. And you're all going to hate them because they're having fun and you're not. They made better choices.
Right. Well, Gary, thanks so much for your time. As we end the interview, anything else you want to leave the viewers with?
No, I just think, I tell people, don't jump out of first floor windows. Don't panic here. It's a slow, long process. Yeah. Don't get too freaked out. Don't try and go back and win it all in Vegas. I mean, I really mean, people need to just be a little calmer, and let's see how this plays out. And do know that this too shall pass, and it will.
Well, we pray for that, and we hope that's the case. And we love that you always
praying for it, Rob. I can tell you that,
because that's true.
Yeah, I could get gray hair if this keeps up. So anyway,
yeah, you ain't kidding. That would be it's a tough job for you and for everybody, especially during this traumatic time. We'll leave that with that word. But anyways, Gary Sirak, thanks so much for your time. I look forward to doing this again down the road.
Always a pleasure, and good seeing you, and glad to keep doing this. It's fun. So